Hey there, pirates. Welcome aboard the Anime No Me channel. Guys, Chapter 1142 brought an immense amount of information that could indicate something much bigger than it seems. I believe that by analyzing all the events presented, it is possible that Loki was unjustly blamed for what happened in Elbaf. The magical transport circles, which have been subtly shown in other moments of the story, may have been used by the Garasei and the Holy Knights to cover up their true intentions. Perhaps the tragedy involving the King of the Giants was planned from the beginning as a way to destabilize Elbaf and prevent the Straw Hats from gaining such powerful allies. Loki, who has always been portrayed as a problematic prince, may not be the villain everyone assumes. In various moments throughout the story, initial villains turned out to be more complex than they seemed, like Katakuri, who in the end was just a protective brother. Considering that the Giants are one of the strongest races in the world and have a connection to Joy Boy and Nika, it makes sense that the world government would want to directly interfere with their fate. Perhaps Loki's supposed responsibility for the loss of the Giant King is an elaborate farce, something that fits perfectly with how the government manipulates history. The impact of the scene where Loki strikes the treasure tree, Adam also deserves attention. I think this moment was built to seem like an impulsive act of destruction, but considering the symbolism behind it, Loki may have been trying to send a warning or provoke some reaction. The lightning that struck immediately afterwards seems too convenient to be a coincidence. Could it be an indication of an external presence manipulating events to ensure that the situation spirals out of control? The Gorosei have already demonstrated the ability to manipulate natural elements, as seen on Egghead Island. Another relevant detail is the presence of monsters based on children's fears. This could suggest an illusionary power or fear manifestation, something that could be directly linked to the Holy Knights. If they are indeed involved, then it makes sense that the entire incident is actually a well-orchestrated scheme to frame Loki as the villain and eliminate any chance of Elbaf supporting the Straw Hats. I think Loki might end up siding with Luffy and his allies, not out of kindness, but out of necessity. If he was truly betrayed and became an outcast in his own land, his only option would be to seek revenge against those who plotted against him. And considering that Luffy is someone who naturally attracts allies with tragic backstories, this would be a very logical direction for the narrative. This theory could also connect to other moments in the story, such as what happened in Dressrosa, where Doflamingo manipulated the narrative to make it seem like Riku was responsible for the kingdom's downfall. I think the same strategy might be in play here. Perhaps Loki, in trying to protect his people, was made a scapegoat by a greater force that wants to prevent Elbaf from becoming an ally in the revolution against the world government. The next step is to see if there will be clues confirming this possibility. I believe the use of magical transport circles could be one of the strongest indicators that the true culprits were someone else. If we can connect this detail with previous appearances of these circles in situations involving the Gorosei or the Holy Knights, then this theory gains even more strength. Either way, the story is heading towards something much bigger than just a battle in Elbaf, and I think the true villains have not yet shown all their cards. If the first part already raised many questions about what is really happening in Elbaf, now the situation seems even stranger. What makes me think the most is the detail of the fire and lightning striking precisely at the moment Loki hits the treasure tree atom. That cannot be a coincidence. Maybe, just maybe, Loki was trying to prove something. He spoke about Elbaf's weakness, but what if that weakness is not just structural, but something related to the island's very origin? Since the Straw Hats arrived, the signs have been there. Saul hid O'Hara there for a reason, and the presence of that army of monsters that seem like fear manifestations raises a question. What if someone is manipulating the minds of the children or even the entire population? And here comes a point that might be one of the most important so far. The Holy Knights and the Gorosei could be behind everything. If Loki was indeed framed, that would explain why even while imprisoned and weakened, he still acts so impulsively. He might be trying to get revenge for something that was done to him or to Elbaf, and the detail of the magical transport circles appearing before only reinforces this theory. If there is someone capable of conjuring this kind of technique, who's to say it wasn't these very holy knights who attacked the Giant King and pinned the blame on Loki? This would also explain why Gunko responded with Nika when asked about his fear. If the Gorosei are manipulating the narrative, they may have completely distorted the true story of Joy Boy and the sun god Nika. Perhaps the Giants have been taught to fear this figure over the centuries when, in reality, he should be a symbol of liberation. If that's the case, Loki may have been one of the few who realized the truth and was, therefore, removed from his position as prince and forced into exile. And there's more. The fact that Gunko is involved means that this plot didn't just start now. He seems to know much more than he lets on, and the way Killingham and Summers are handling the situation gives the impression that they already expected something like this to happen. This raises another possibility. What if their plan is to capture Loki or even Luffy? They already understand that the sun god is here. What if their goal is to use this chaos to capture someone important? Maybe the Gorosei themselves have ordered it. The strangest thing about all of this is the way fire and lightning behave. They don't seem natural. And how could all of this be connected to the mysteries of the poneglyphs that Robin and Saul are protecting? Who knows? Maybe there's an even greater secret about the true origin of Elbaf and what the island represents for the Void Century. If that's the case, things are only going to get worse from here. If Loki really isn't the villain, then the real threat hasn't even been fully revealed yet. And what if the attack on the King of Giants was actually a calculated sacrifice by the Gorosei to ensure that Elbaf remained under their control? After all, if there's one race capable of standing against the world government, it's the Giants. And maybe, just maybe, Luffy is the missing piece needed to change everything. Now, if there's something that truly needs to be explored, it's the fear of the God Knight known as Gunko. Because the fact that he answered Nika when asked about what he feared isn't just a minor detail. In fact, this could be the key to understanding the full extent of the world government's influence over Elbaf. And more importantly, the real reason why the Gorosei and their God Knights are so desperate to contain Luffy. Gunko is a character who hasn't been fully revealed yet, but just by his name and the way he was introduced, it's clear that he plays a much bigger role in the story. He doesn't seem like just any enemy, much less someone who acts without purpose. He's there, watching everything from a distance, as if waiting for the right moment to act. And the way he answers Nika without hesitation when asked about his greatest fear only proves that he has deep knowledge about this figure. But why exactly would a God Knight fear Nika? Well, maybe, just maybe, the God Knights themselves know more than anyone else about the true history of the Void Century. Perhaps they have been trained from the very beginning to eradicate any remnants of the ancient civilization that existed before the world government. If that's the case, then Nika isn't just an enemy to them. He represents the collapse of everything they know. After all, the God Knights are the elite warriors of the Gorosei, handpicked to protect the secrets of the world government. This means they have likely had access to information that most people could never even dream of knowing. If Gunko fears Nika, it might be because he knows exactly what happens when that name resurfaces in the world. He knows that Nika isn't just a legend, but a real force capable of bringing down everything the celestial dragons have built over the centuries. And what if this fear has existed since the very beginning of the world government? Because the Gorosei don't just want to erase any mention of Joy Boy, they want to eliminate anyone who could inherit his will. Gunko's fear might not be just about Luffy specifically, but about what Luffy represents. Because he isn't the first to carry this will, and if history truly repeats itself, then that means Gunko might be reliving a nightmare that has happened before. Maybe, just maybe, the God Knights have faced someone like Nika in the past. Perhaps Gunko has already seen what this force is capable of, which is why he fears its return so much. It could be that he has been trained since the beginning to prevent Nika from returning to the world. And now that it has happened, he understands that there is no escaping the inevitable. And if that's the case, then Gunko's fear isn't just a weakness, it's proof that the Gorosei are in despair. Because if even a God Knight fears Nika, that means they know their era is coming to an end. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.